Good morning, everyone. A hearty welcome to everyone this morning on, I was planning to say on a cold, blustery November day. It's cold but not too cold, and it's a little blustery but not too blustery. So we're happy to have everyone here this morning. We are gathered here to remember all of the participants in the historic naval battle that took place just a few hundred yards offshore on this date in 1718. It was then that the British Royal Navy, under command of Lieutenant Robert Maynard, engaged the pirate Edward Teach, otherwise, as you know, Blackbeard, known as Blackbeard. In the battle that killed Blackbeard, led to the surrender of his crew and initiated the end of what has come to be known as the Golden Age of piracy. This ceremony was organized by a committee of the Ocracoke Preservation Society under the leadership of Ocracoke Island resident Ruth Toth. Where is Ruth? There's right in the front. There she is. With help from Commander Richard Underwood of the British Royal Navy, and many others, including island residents, British officers and seamen, and friends of Ocracoke. At this time, the Ocracoke Children's Choir will perform two numbers, High-Low Sea Shanty and Sailor's Farewell Hymn. The lyrics to High-Low Sea Shanty, newly written by Islander Captain Rob Temple, right here beside me, are printed in your program on page 9 so you can follow along with the children's choir. Okay? Sunday.
All right, Mariah, go. Tommy's gone, what shall I do? Away, high-low. Tommy's gone and I'll go too. Tommy's gone to high-low. Why don't Tom and he makes me away, high-low. He thinks of me as you see. Tommy's gone to high-low. I thought I heard the captain say, away, high-low. We'll get our grog 3 times. Tommy's gone to high-low. I thought I heard the first mate say, away, high-low. It's one more pull and then we lay. Tommy's gone to high-low. Edward Teach had a fierce away, high-low. For the old man. Tommy's gone to high-low. Blackbeard filled the coast with dread. Away, high-low. Till Maynard's lads were poachers. Tommy's gone to high-low. The Ranger came to save the day. Away, high-low. Taught the pirates crime don't pay. Tommy's gone to high-low. And fare thee well, old pirate town. Away, high-low. To southern waters we are. Tommy's gone to high-low. Tommy's gone forevermore. Away, high-low. I'll never see my Tom no more. Tommy's gone to high-low. To go sailing time. Get some sails upon her, haul away your halyards, haul away your halyards. 'Tis our sailing time. Set her on her course now. Haul away your foresheets, haul away your foresheets. 'Tis our sailing time. Feel the seas run under. Haul away down channel, haul away down channel on the evening tide. When the voyage is over, haul away for heaven, haul away for heaven. God be by your side. It is time to go now. Haul away your anchor, haul away your anchor. 'Tis our sailing time.
At this time, two of our Ocracoke students that you've just seen up here, Mariah Temple and Marin Donlin, will be doing a reading. Excuse me. Mariah will be acting as the narrator, and Marin will be reading the actual words of Lieutenant Maynard that he recorded in his logbook. So at this time, I'll have Mariah and Marin come up here. And if you can face this way.
In the Public Record Office at Kew, England is the captain's log of HMS Lyme, which describes the dispatching of the expedition in quest of the pirate Teach in North Carolina, and in the National Maritime Museum at Greenwich is a log which was kept by Robert Maynard, first lieutenant of HMS Pearl, and the man who led the naval force which destroyed the most famous of all pirates. Maynard's entry for November 17th, 1718 reads,
Moderate gales and fair weather. This day I received from Captain Gordon an order to command 60 men out to His Majesty's ships, Pearl and Lyme, on board 2 small sloops, in order to destroy some pirates, who resided in North Carolina. This day weighed and sailed hence with ye sloops under my command, having on board proviso of all species with arms and ammunition suitable for ye occasion.
Maynard found out from passing vessels that Blackbeard sloop Adventure was anchored on the inner side of Ocracoke Island. Maynard's sloops, guided by local pilots, arrived in the area at dusk on Thursday, November 21st, and the decision was made to wait for the tide and make the attack early the following morning. The next morning there was very little wind, and Maynard ordered some of his men to take a small boat and row ahead of the sloop, taking soundings. As they approached the pirate ship, they were greeted by a volley of shot. Blackbeard cut his anchor cable and raised his sails. Maynard hoisted the king's colors and set off in pursuit. At this point, Maynard's sloops ran aground, and a shouted exchange took place between Maynard and Blackbeard. Maynard's own account reads,
At our first salutation, he drank damnation to me and my men, whom he styled cowardly puppies, saying he would neither give nor take quarter.
With the rising tide, Maynard's 2 sloops floated free and began to row toward the Adventure. As they approached, Blackbeard fired a broadside from his guns. The effect was devastating. In Maynard's words,
Mr. Hyde was unfortunately killed, and 5 of his men wounded in the little sloop, which, having nobody to command her, fell astern and did not come up to assist me till the action was almost over.
Maynard pressed on in the Jane and succeeded in shooting away the Adventure's jib and 4 halyards and forcing the vessel aground. After taking heavy fire from the Adventure, he ordered all except 2 of his men to hide in the hold as they made their approach. Blackbeard assumed his guns had killed most of her crew and decided to board Maynard's sloop. As the pirates clambered aboard, the sailors emerged from hiding. Fierce fighting between the two sides ensued. Maynard's description of the fight.
His 12 men fought like heroes, sword in hand, and they killed every one of them that entered, without the loss of one man on their side. But they were miserably cut and mangled. Blackbeard fell, with 5 shot in him and 20 dismal cuts in several parts of his body.
After the battle, Maynard's crew tended the wounded and buried their dead. The worst of the wounded were placed aboard the Ranger and ordered to return to Virginia. The Ranger arrived there November 30th. Maynard then sailed to Bathtown. Some weeks later, he set sail in the pirate sloop Adventure, accompanied by the hired sloop Jane, to rejoin his ship HMS Pearl, and to report the success of his mission to Captain Gordon. On January 3rd, 1719, he dropped anchor opposite HMS Pearl and ordered his men to fire a 9-gun salute, and the Pearl fired an answering salute. Later that day, and the Pearl fired an answering salute. Two. Later that day, Maynard noted in his logbook in the matter-of-fact language expected of naval officers.
Little wind and fair weather this day. I anchored here from North Carolina in the Adventure sloop, Edward Thatch, formerly master, a pirate, whose head I hung under the bowsprit of the said sloop in order to present it to ye colony of Virginia, and ye goods and effects of the said pirate I delivered to my commander's disposal.
Ocracoke school student Iris McLean will now read the poem The Soldier by Rupert Brooke. And that poem is printed in your program too on page 9, so you can read along with it. Iris?
If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There you shall be. In that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by the sons of home. And think this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind no less, give somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds dream happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends and gentleness, and hearts at peace under an English heaven.
Thank you. At this time, Zoe Howard will read the names of those in Blackbeard's crew that were killed in this battle. Zoe?
Blackbeard, Philip Morton, Owen Roberts, Garrett Gibbons, John Phillips, John Husk, Joseph Curtis, Joseph Brooks, Thomas Miller, Nathaniel Jackson.
I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but if you can turn your attention that direction, Mariah and Marin will be putting a remembrance bouquet in the water. I think you can't see it, but it's happening. Can somebody back there tell me if they've done that? It's done. Okay. At this time, Lieutenant Roddy Hartridge of the British Royal Navy will read the names of the British sailors who were killed in that battle, November 22nd, 1718.
Midshipman Edmund Hyde, Coxswain Michael Arlington. Able Seaman John Bardy. Able Seaman George Davison. Able Seaman James Dixon. Able Seaman David Harriott. Able Seaman Gustavus Hume. Able Seaman Jonathan Mardin. Able Seaman Jonathan Portbury. Able Seaman Robert Rayburn. Able Seaman John Williams II.
There is another remembrance bouquet being thrown into the tossed into the water back behind you. The Ocracoke Community Choir will now sing the first verse of Eternal Father Strong to Save. This is a hymn traditionally associated with seafarers, particularly those in the maritime armed services. We invite everyone to join the choir on verses 2, 3, and 4, and the hymn is printed in your program.
Father strong to save, whose arm hath bound the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Christ, whose voice the waters heard, and hushed their raging at thy word, who walkest on the foaming deep, and calm amid the storm didst sleep. O hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Holy Spirit, who didst brood upon the waters dark and rude, and bid their cry to thee for those in peril on the sea. O Trinity of love and power, our brethren, shield in danger's hour, from rock and tempest, fire and foe, protect them wheresoe'er they go. Thus evermore shall rise to thee glad hymns of praise from land and sea.
At this time, we'd like to ask Commander Underwood to say a few words for us this morning. Here he is.
It's been a long day already. Ladies and gentlemen, when Ruth and I got together, and you should be aware that Ruth first contacted the British Embassy over 13 months ago to pull together the activities that you see unfolding before you today, and what a huge effort it has been. But when Ruth and I got together to start coordinating the order of service, we'd hoped that the Royal Navy chaplain, who is based in Norfolk, Virginia, would be here, standing where I am now, doing the chaplaincy bit, which we thought would be a fitting way to bring this ceremony to a close. Unfortunately, there's been a bereavement in his family, so instead you've got me. And this is not going to be a standard memorial address, but I think in many respects that's in fitting and in keeping with what is not a usual celebration and commemoration. I mean that in the very best possible sense. This is a wonderful, wonderful occasion that is really combining the best elements of commemoration with celebration. And I see that in Zoe Howard's address, a direct descendant of one of Blackbeard's crew, the real sense of celebration of community and spirit here in the island, which is absolutely in fitting with what we in the Royal Navy are all about. And it means a huge amount for us having travelled down from DC, my family and I, but also for Roddy and Craig having come across from the UK a couple of days ago. For those of you who are not aware, I should just add that Roddy is the current commanding officer of HMS Ranger. So just as there is a direct descendant... Just as there is a direct descendant of Blackbeard's forebears here, so we have that direct descendants here with the Royal Navy 300 years and counting, and that means a huge amount to us as well. Now, I mentioned commemoration, and I feel it's sort of beholden to finish on a solemn note today, but please bear in mind this is absolutely one of celebration as well. Now, the words earlier read out so brilliantly by the schoolchild came from that horrible war 100 years ago, whose armistice we've just celebrated earlier this month. And I'm going to be stealing from that conflict as well. I think you'll find, though, that the words of this poem, some of which will be well known to you, are particularly apt for our purposes today. With proud thanksgiving, a mother for her children, England mourns for her dead across the sea. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the three. Solemn the drums thrill. Death, august and royal, sings sorrow up into immortal spheres. There is music in the midst of desolation, and a glory that shines upon our tears. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. They mingle not with their laughing comrades again. They sit no more at familiar tables of home. They have no lot in our labour of the daytime. They sleep beyond England's foam. But where our desires are and our hopes profound, felt as a wellspring that is hidden from sight, to the innermost heart of their own land they are known, as the stars are known to the night. As the stars it shall be bright when we are dust, moving in marches upon the heavenly plain, as the stars that are starry in the time of our darkness, to the end they remain. And finally, a prayer for seafarers around the globe, regardless of nationality, colour or creed. Frail is our vessel, and the ocean is wide. But as you, in your mercy, have set our course, so steer the vessel of our life towards the everlasting shore of peace, and bring us at length to the quiet haven of our heart's desire, where you, O God, are blessed, and live and reign forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commander Underwood. Thank all of the participants in this ceremony this morning, and all of you who have come here to honor the fallen people, sailors, both Blackbeard's crew and the British Royal Navy in that historic battle, November 22nd, 1718. At this time, we also invite everyone to come with us to the barn at the Berkeley Manor for British tea and refreshments. Thank you all for being here.
Huzzah!